So I thought we established the bad guys in the first issue, but by the end of this issue, no, we have not. My name is Dorian, this is SCM Comics. We'll continue our coverage of NYX with number 2. So our story starts off with Wolverine, Laura Kinney, with her claws deep in some dude's shoulder as he is screaming, and she loving every minute of this. She even says in the narration bubble, the drop down is the best part. So the reason why this dude is probably not going to have the use of his shoulder anymore is because I guess 30 young mutants have disappeared in as many days, and she thinks that these guys are up to it, and she's there to put a stop to it, and she's telling the young mutant, come on with me. So the young mutant's like, you don't understand. They're not taking me anywhere. They're not kidnapping me. I asked to go. You could go too. Just ask for Loco. So Laura lets the guy up with his arm dangling, and she lets him go. Laura goes back into this abandoned building where she's been staying in, and she thinks about her friend Chitin, which is NYX. That's from the first NYX issue back in like the early 2000s. Her mutant power was she manipulated time. Like, she wasn't a speedster, but she can accelerate her time to where minutes or seconds to us was like minutes to her. So it kind of sounds like Quicksilver's power too. I mean, but she wasn't a speedster. She just kind of manipulated time. Anyway, she was very street smart. So Laura decides to act the way that she would act in this situation. So she puts on her Sunday's best and she hits the streets. And she's like, this place wasn't hard to find. Like, really wasn't hard to find at all. And there's this big dude who looks like an elephant standing there. He says something in Krakoan, and Laura gives him the mutant sign. He lets her in, and she says something back to him in Krakoan. So as she walks in, she meets with Loco. That's the guy's name, Loco. He's a mutant there, and I guess he controls like electricity to an extent. It's more like he controls technology, which we'll see more along in this book. So he's like, you must be Wolverine. So I guess you could say that they've been expecting her. And she's like, no, that's insane. She's like, call me Scratch and consider this an audition on one condition. As she burns her hand on the candle and shows that she can heal, I want to meet your boss. So he calls him up on the phone and he's like, let me see what Mr. Friend says. So as Laura's waiting, she hears somebody call her name, and we see it's Miss Marvel. So Laura's like, what are you doing here? This is dangerous. Miss Marvel's like, no, this is the least dangerous place I've been to all week. So Miss Marvel's telling about the fight that she got into in the first issue with the Krakoan, who is really Hellion, for those of you who know who Hellion is. And she wants to compare notes with the investigation. And Laura's like, we're not comparing notes. I don't need your help. I work alone. Get out of here. So Loco tells Laura that she has to pass some tests before she can meet Mr. Friend. And I guess the first test is for her to steal a car, which is easy for her, but she acted like it was difficult. And then she's like, well, how the hell are we going to drive in New York? And I guess Loco uses his powers to like change all the traffic lights to where they were green so they can pretty much drive flat out. So they ditched the car, they went down to the subway. Loco again uses his powers to where right when they get to the platform, like the subway shows up. And she finds herself actually having fun with this dude, which she hasn't done in a long time, or actually since the first NYX when she was with Katie. So the last test is at ESU. There's something in the science department that Mr. Friend wants them to steal. So Laura's like, okay, that's fine. We can do that. But for everything I break in there, because you guys want me to break some stuff too, you gotta play truth or dare with me and answer some questions. And Loco's like, okay, no problem. So while they're doing all that, she's pretty much getting the lowdown on the whole operation that Mr. Friend has. She grabs whatever they wanted her to steal, which was being held in a very cold place, but because her healing factor, she was able to reach in and grab it. And as she's running out, she bumps into Prodigy, who is a teacher there, which we found out in issue 1. Don't worry, if you need to catch up, link is always in the description. So he's obviously taken him back. Loco's like, do you know this guy? And she's like, yeah, I know him from my apartment complex. And she's like, look, you didn't see anything, turn around and go, as they run off. So I guess she's done enough to where she can see Mr. Friend, and she sees him alone. I mean, as soon as you look at this dude, like, you could tell his hands aren't real. Like, this is not a real person. And as soon as he walks in, she can smell formaldehyde and like a lime agent. So Laura's like, what do we steal tonight? And he's like, it's a growth hormone to make somebody hit like the Juggernaut. He's like, yeah, we're just gather up mutants and pretty much taking their powers and put them into something else. So Laura's like, oh, it's pretty ballsy. Just tell me exactly what you're doing. Mutants don't like to get abused. And he's like, oh, Wolverine, don't you know that mutants love to be abused? And we see that it's Mojo. She pops her claws and they get right to it. Now, maybe I'm remembering the Mojo from like the TV show, but this is crazy. Like, this Mojo goes and just takes his like little tentacle legs that are sharp as hell and cuts her face from like ear to ear, like cuts her mouth right open. Like, I don't remember this Mojo being so tough. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember this Mojo being this tough. And he tells her that, you know, you tried this whole little Krakoan thing and unite all the mutants. And when that didn't work, now these mutants are scattered around and they need a friend. And that's where I come in. She stabs him in the face with both eyes. I'm like, there you go. That's what we need. And he just took it, like ate it. And I was like, is that all you got? I got more. And hits her with a blast that comes out of his mouth and sends her flying, and her skin is burnt off. I mean, down to her adamantium skeleton. So Loco Caesar doesn't know what to do. Mr. Friend says, hey, Loco, come here. I need to talk to you alone. She runs and she's like, a tactical retreat. She's like, no, it's not a tactical retreat. I'm scared out of my damn mind. I just need to get the hell out of there. And she like cowers in like an alley trying to roll her skin back. So Mr. Friend, before he blasts her in the face, told her like she can't win because she's all by herself. She's all alone. So she starts thinking to herself like, maybe I shouldn't kick Miss Marvel to the curve like that. Maybe I do need some help. So she decides to go back to the club, and this time she has her friends with her. Why is it when I see this picture, the only one that I don't worry about is Andor? Andor, I feel like, might get his butt handed to him. As if I even pronouncing this name right. Let me know in the comments if I am.